And we are live. Hi, I'm Heinbach, and it's good to have you back. I'm trying to go live too on Instagram. Okay, so now I have to press that there too. I've never done that before. That is the first time. I wonder how this will look, but probably tiny. Let's look at the preview here. But yeah, so now I'm going live on Instagram too for the first time. So, yeah, that seems to work. Okay, so let's go back to StreamYard. So what we're doing today is to listen to the new album by my friend Jogging House. It's called Unrund, and this is the first time I'm doing something like that for music that's not me, but that's not mine, but I really like this album. And me and Boris go back way back because he is the head of Psy Records, and I've released I don't know how many records. And there's another one coming up with him. I'll have to ask him like how many we are at in a bit. But I think, yeah, this will be a rather chill listening party and also a conversation about music. So I'm going to invite Boris now, aka Jogging House, in here. Works. And welcome. Here's Jogging House.
Hey. Hi, Stefan. Thanks for having me.
Nice. Thanks that you're here. I'm just surprised. I'm seeing that for the first time you get the chat basically also in the stream. So we're trying out that. So don't be naughty. And if you're naughty, you have to turn off that. I have to turn that feature. So let's see if that works. Good. So
hey, people of the internet.
Yeah. So because usually when I do this, you act as a moderator.
Yes,
when I release something on your label. So now we've got no moderator.
No, it's Wild West now, but it's usually there isn't many things to mod. So I think we're good.
Okay. Else, yeah, we can see what's happening here. I can see the comments also here, which is good. So we are also open to questions, so you can ask them right away. We'll try to keep track of them, and we'll definitely do like a Q&A round at the end if there's anything that we've missed. But for now, let's start by putting in Unrund into Unrund. How would you even pronounce that in English?
Anrand.
Anrand into the player, and we start listening and press play. As usual, we are listening from this little Sony portable tape deck because it's the best tape deck that I have right here. And you guys have to let me know if the levels are okay for you once this starts playing. And I was surprised in a bit because it starts rather quietly. Here we come.
Yeah, that sounds like me.
That would have been embarrassing if I had flipped the tapes for some reason. Okay. So. Oh, so many people already there. Hello, everyone. The White Inclusive, the Lifted Index, many well-known faces here. Shout out Lupo to Mexico. Very nice. So, how's the level of the music in our voices? Let us know, please.
Sounds good on my end.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Cool. So.
Yeah.
Cool. So this came out 4 weeks ago?
No,
in March already?
Yeah, time flies.
Oh, yeah, we wanted to do this much earlier. I remember. Yeah. Okay, cool. So, but it's still your newest album. You have, because you're very prolific. You put out a lot of records.
I am, but it's still my newest, and I had all kinds of things to do. So I do not have another one in the pipeline right now. It will be my new album for at least another week.
Which is good. This is also a double album. So It's a double cassette album. And let me do the thing so people don't forget. You can get this here, directly from you. Directly here from Psy Records. And when you buy it here, Boris is going to ship it out. By himself, I think,
will,
right?
Yeah. Paper
Perfect.
cuts and all, yeah.
Oh, that must be a constant thing.
Yeah.
With all the...
Lots of blood loss when packaging things.
So what's worse, paper cuts or the DHL shipping software?
I mean, the mental scars of the DHL page is, the paper cuts. Eventually, they are fine, but DHL, they left me broken, I guess. Yeah.
I did that one time with my record with Cosmos for just like 60 or 80 tapes, and it was mind-bendingly stupid. I was so much missing the days of just slapping on like some stamps and being done with it.
Yeah.
But that was absolutely, that was, so I feel your pain on that.
Yeah, that's my life. I don't know I don't know why I'm doing this to myself, but I do on a regular basis. It's just, I don't know. But it's a good feeling when you have to, when there's a new release by whomever, someone else or myself, and then there's usually the first day is the busiest, or the first 2 days, and then once you get over that hill and have the first ones already out the door, it's a really nice feeling. It's like beating a very hard boss in a video game or something, where there's a strange sense of accomplishment by bringing lots of small cassette envelopes to the post office.
That's cool. That's cool. And so I'm hearing sounds that seem familiar. Did you use a harmonica on this? Like
actually not.
The fan organ? Because
no,
those
I
wide pads, like these very...
It's actually the pads that you're hearing right now is all kalimba.
Okay.
I used the harmonica on the album that came out before that, which is called Softy. That was on all the tracks. But this one we are listening to right now is a very modular-based album, and for whatever reason, I tend to sample loads of kalimba sounds like live into my modular system. I don't know, it became a thing I do, and when you have enough looping kalimba sounds and kind of slightly detuned and feed them back into themselves, and do all these kinds of little like feedback microorganisms that you can patch up, it starts to sound like this very dense and kind of hovering sound that I really like.
I would never have guessed that's a kalimba. Interesting, because there's almost... I can hear... I'm here like gentle, very gentle plucks. But now you're gonna tell me the plucks are not the kalimba.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, the kalimba usually is looped in a way that it's kind of seamless. But if you listen to it, I have the kalimba, I guess original one from Patchpoint that you also have, which has those little chimes, I don't know, the
rattlers,
on the metal parts. And if you listen for them, I usually try to play without rattling them too much, but you can hear them if you listen for them throughout several of my albums. And that, but there's a whole lot of like sample rate reduction going on, and it kind of overpronounces that metal ring of the kalimba sound and kind of turns it into something else. For some reason, I am only able to do that with my modular system and not my other samplers. It doesn't come out like that with any other, any other sample tool that you have.
What are the other samplers that you're using?
The Digitakt mostly, or Digitakt 2 now, which is by far my favorite. I also have the Chompy or now Chase Bliss, which is really great. Also a pretty good kalimba sampler, but again spits out an entirely different sound. It's much more focused on, or at least how I use it, using quick effects on top, resampling them with another round of effects and so on. So you get a much more like washed out sound. Also really nice, but just entirely different. And the Digitakt is kind of my go-to sampler for anything that is more like chopping up stuff, like classic sampler duties, I guess. It's the thing I'm most fluent in.
And did they updated the Chompy probably a bunch of times, because I got the very first like Kickstarter backer edition, and that was very buggy.
I only got it pretty much same time last year after the Super Boost, and I think that
Okay.
also is still the latest update
Okay.
that they put out. But I think there are several instances between the original release version and that, but I don't know. I only got it working.
Cool. That's good. That's good. That's good. Because it does sound like the reverb, the way you can turn everything into washes is amazing.
It is. Yeah.
Now my daughter Rosa has it. So, and the first thing she did was basically like dark ambient drone and really atonal like scapes, because everything into that reverb can become like this alien space music thing. Yeah. Cool.
It's also on almost any other thing, I never mix like a reverb fully wet. Not something I usually use reverb and delay kind of how they are meant to, as kind of to create rooms for the music to live in. But with the chompy, it kind of goes a different route. You just totally overdo it on purpose, over and over again, and then until it just spits out this really nice washy sound. It's I mean that as a really good thing.
Yeah, no, it is a good thing. Like the reverb is the sound. It's a sound. It's a vibe in itself. I like to do that myself here with the dual quad reverbs that I run in series.
Similar.
So I oftentimes put anything in there, and then it becomes like this quad reverb, white noise, screamy, white background sound with anything, and I'm not changing that. I've had that preset for like 5 years now. I'm not changing it. That's done. I just vary the levels between the which quad reverb I want to like distort, the first one or the second one, or both, or none of them. So because it's just an instrument sound. So
cool. I never had one. Always read about it, but never actually tried one.
Oh, they're cool. Like they're nicely modulated, and they have that like kind of early warp sound to them. And if you stack them, they're amazing. But so you said something that I'm curious about, because I've been thinking about that a lot. Do you use like actual rooms, like room reverbs? So you put something like in this acoustic space and in this acoustic space?
No, not really. More like more washy kind of ambience. I mean, I make ambient music, and most of the time the algorithms that I look for are also called ambience or something like that. But
Okay.
it's easy to remember, I guess. I'm not looking to create like a hall or a chamber or whatever.
Okay.
Just more like a non-defined space. But still, I like it to be in this album that we're hearing right now. I like it to be like throughout the course of that track, the same space. It's not piles of that reverb on top, or the reverb is not changing in for example with modular delays where everything is kind of freaking out all of the time. So in almost all of my music, the reverb is just living around the sounds, kind of creating kind of like a place for them to live in.
Yeah, because I was wondering about that, because I also almost never use true spaces, except when I record like a true space.
Yeah.
So I tend to use short delays more if I want to add some, like kind of Haas effectish roominess. And I think that might be because when I learned to mix and everything, I found that all the plugins and everything, basically you had Wunderverb and all of that stuff, and everything sounded all horrible. All the rooms like that I had access to, all the plugins and everything sounded really horrible. So I never really had like a good room reverb, and except for the rooms that I recorded in. So I wonder how that influenced my decisions in like mixing, that I still stick to, even though there's probably now much better. I mean, like there's the Valhalla rooms and stuff, which are amazing. But I just thought, no, I don't need room. I can get by without room. Echo instead.
You also have that glorious Federhall, what's it called? Spring reverb?
Great British Spring.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a completely but it feels like a room. It feels like a very wet, drippy, kind of like Pirates of the Caribbean room, where like it's very white and dark. And I also got a broken IKG BX20 now, which I get pretty cheaply.
That's
was
that
really
big
happy about
metal
that.
container.
Yeah, that's like the fridge, like the wooden
Yeah,
70s
yeah. A
fridge.
friend of mine has
So
one of these.
one side works, the other side doesn't really. It just sounds more sploinky. So and I'm working on getting that fixed. And I have to say, that sounds very lush. It's almost too lush. It's almost too good. Like that sounds like a room. That sounds like a real cool room. So, but yeah, that's another way. But that's probably the first good room that I have in this studio. I have to think. I want to think about that. We're still on the first track, right?
Yes, it's just 8
So
tracks across 2 tapes, so they are each around 13 minutes.
I was
So.
wondering about the 13 minutes thing. Is that something because
Oh, it's Friday the 13th too. It's Friday the 13th too. So it's
Oh, okay.
all coming together.
For today, it's perfectly coming together. But I was wondering that, like, is it because I use to record on the Nagra, and so oftentimes you have the limit there of 7, maybe 10 minutes, depending on the thickness of the tape. So that's like a fixed technical limit of how long you can record. But did you record on tape, or did you record digitally? And was there like a limit that was by the length of the tape that you
No,
had?
I did record a tape, but there was no limit. My Revox tape machine is 7.5 IPS, so I get, I think, around 90 minutes out of one tape. So usually I can just I just leave it running even between takes. When I do something else, I just keep recording, and then just whatever, pick the take that I like best. But I need my tape sides to be exactly the same length. You might remember that from your own releases when I tell you that there's a gap. And I with with other artists, I'm fine. You can all have your minute gap if you want, but I can't have that. I need my tape sides to be almost perfectly the same. It doesn't always work out, but it's very important to me for reasons I can't explain. And I think I recorded two tracks of that album, and I noticed that they are all around. They were both around 13 minutes. It just turned out like that, and then from then on, I just kind of looked at the clock while recording and figured, because with these kind of tracks they have a very slow build and always also very slow breakdown until the end. So there is always, like, I guess I can add or delete 20 seconds rather easily if I wanted to. So it's not super hard to bring the same length if you're roughly recorded. I just look at the watch and see it's, I don't know, 20:09, and then I just record until it's 33 and stop, and usually it works out. I don't even have a timer. I use a regular watch. It's stupid.
No, it's not stupid. That's cool. Oh, that's cool. Because so it's still a technical limitation, but of the final medium that made you decide, okay, so now if these 2 tracks are 13, then I need, on the other side, I need 2 that are the same length.
Yes.
Or I need to do complicated math, and no, I'm just gonna make
exactly. I knew that I wanted to have long tracks, and at some point I felt, okay, this could be like 2 double album, 2 cassettes, and then of course I could make one cassette with 4 13-minute tracks and the other cassette with 4 tracks of different length. But then it would restrict me, because while I recorded, I don't know which will be the opening track and the third one and so on. So I wanted to have the flexibility, and but track length is something I think about it a lot.
Yeah, I can see and hear that, but that's I was very curious about that. But yeah, it's now I know what it came about. That's cool. And so you said they take a long time to build up, but I still feel your tracks don't have intros. So they are there.
Yeah, they are there.
They're there immediately. So there's no like, oh, here's something that's like this, and it already, the core of the track reveals itself like very quickly, and then you walk through it like a pasture.
Exactly.
You follow it. So
I see it as a kind of like it's growing. So it's already like the same creature. It's just smaller, and then it develops over time, but it doesn't change. It's not like I don't make like butterflies that cocoon and stuff like that. It's more like mammals that are the same throughout. Just they grow and then at some point they die.
Yeah.
In a very
Or do they
cozy way.
retire? Maybe
Yeah, they
retire.
retire. Yeah,
They retire. Yeah, they go out to the
retire
back of
almost
the pasture to
permanently.
retire.
Um,
Okay.
and
So
yeah, that's how I
here's
see it.
one question from the Void Inclusive. Can you talk about how you divided the tracks for the digital release?
Oh yeah, that answer will be a bit cold. I'm sorry. For the Spotify version, not the digital, not on Bandcamp and stuff. Bandcamp is the same version as on the cassettes, but these long form tracks don't really tend to or lean themselves to be streamed. It's just the algorithm dislikes them, and I dislike streaming, so I always figure what if I upload something there, I want to get as many plays as I can out of something, and so I cut up those long form tracks into between 4 and 5 different pieces. And so on Spotify, that album is a 35 track album now, and it simply is a way to game the system. But
Okay.
I didn't cut it up like just sliced it up in even measurements. These tracks, if you looked at them at the waveform, like an Ableton or whatever, I use Ableton, you see them kind of almost pulsating, like very slow pulses. So there are, even throughout the beginning, middle, and end, there are moments when they pile up and then moments when they kind of slow down. And I just basically made cuts and fades at the slow down phase of the individual segments, and then turned them so sometimes they aren't evenly measured. Sometimes a part is like 4 minutes, sometimes it's 1.5 minutes or something like that. And it just was an experiment. I wanted to see if it's that's
you had to like it because you wanted to see if this works then for streaming.
Yeah.
Right? If it's shorter versions. And did it?
Yeah, it did. It's
Okay.
actually already my third best streamed album on Spotify. I mean, that
Really?
I'm not like, I don't bring in the hugest of numbers, but I guess decent. And it grew past a couple of my more pop-ish albums, if you want to call them. Like usually the melodic rhythmic stuff works better on Spotify compared to the more meandering, purely drony ambient things, but in which this album falls under. But with this sliced up version, it worked quite well on streaming, at least on Spotify. On all other streaming services, I just uploaded the regular long form version. I just wanted to compare it.
Oh, and have you like compared it? Because I should do it, but I never looked too much on like Apple, like iTunes or Apple Music, whatever it's called now. So how much does how the long forms doing there compared to like shorter tracks?
I mean, Apple Music is strange anyway. So I only have like a very few tracks that do very well there, and the rest is just existing, basically. But I usually on Apple Music, I don't see a big difference between shorter and longer tracks. They usually kind of live in a similar streaming count. While on Spotify, I can see definitely a big difference between shorter and longer pieces. And I have a couple of long form albums that that didn't do well on streaming, which is why I even tried that.
Yeah, it's interesting. We are moving back to like the 50s in terms of like track length, where everything was like almost under 2 minutes. So we're going back to that kind of like 7-inch kind of format.
True.
So yeah, it's just like medium influences the music is always interesting, and because we had this when the CD came around, suddenly like albums had to be like really long, which oftentimes I have to say wasn't that great. Like to have like
I like an album.
You're right. Yeah, sometimes not. I feel sometimes like an album like 70 minutes and like there's a lot of fillers in there. I think that's one thing that came around during the time that that there were a lot of album fillers, because I think, and I experienced that among musicians myself, that when you buy an album, it has to be like a full thing. It has to be like a full meal. You pay per minute, basically, you know. So what? I paid like the same amount for this album, even though it's just 35 minutes, and it could have been like 74. And like, yeah, but does that make a better album? And I remember some albums coming out that were really short, and people were pissed about them. I remember people like, that Strokes album, pretty cool, but super short. I don't feel stupid.
Yeah, I remember that.
People felt cheated. So I was like, no, but it's a good album, right? You enjoy it. Yes, but it could have been longer. Yeah, but maybe it wouldn't have been as good because they didn't have, that's the good tracks that they had.
Yeah, the key is to just make more good tracks, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then put them all on an album. That would be my recommendation.
Yeah. Which is really the easiest thing, to make really, really good tracks all the time. I mean, no. I find that interesting. So how especially the different media, how they influence. I found it always, especially with vinyl, I found it so good that it gave you a frame on how to sequence the tracks for the album, because you had to put your loudest tracks in the beginnings of each side, and then you would go more quiet with the more quiet tracks in the middle. So you already had like a bit of a dramatic structure to your album.
That's true. Yeah. That's. I mean, I like to end with something like not all. Some albums just have like calm. All my music is calm, but some still have, even in my world, calm tracks. But sometimes I like to end on something that is a bit bigger, and that usually doesn't lend to vinyl. That's always a bit. I have to rethink sometimes my sequencing when I make a vinyl release.
Yeah, you have to be like, okay, so you want to go out with a bang? Maybe start with a bang?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. You have to think about that. But the sequencing is one of the hardest things. I mean, you had one thing taken care of. That's because all were the same length. So you had the technical, side. You had that taken care of. But what about like what part? Because you've got these partners basically, right?
True.
So how did you decide upon that?
So I love sequencing albums. This one was easy, I guess, because of the track length, but I generally absolutely love doing that. I loved always making mixtapes, like when I was a kid and stuff like that. It's one of the more enjoyable parts of the process for me. I usually try the first track should be something that kind of just draws you in. I want the first track to kind of already create the world of the album, so you know what kind of journey this will be. I guess it shouldn't reveal everything, but you know, that's it. I don't like if the first track is kind of misleading in a way that it's like if you have this really rhythmic first track and then the rest of the album is just pure drone, then I don't know. I tend to, when I like as a listener, I tend to almost skip that first track. So I like to be like introduced into the world and kind of invited to everything. And then the second and third track usually are the ones that I consider to have the most crowd appeal, I guess. I mean, that's
okay.
I mean, we are talking like lo-fi ambient.
Yeah, I know. But I get what you mean. You're still sequencing like it was a Prince album.
Yeah, I do. I do like basically I do a pop sequencing. Yeah. And then something a bit calmer on track 4, maybe so you can breathe a bit, and then maybe some longer track to kind of as a palate cleanser, if you will, and then maybe get into the more rhythmic pieces again, something like that. And in this album, I did the same, but to a very like minute extent. So I don't even know if anyone besides me will notice it, but I feel like the tracks 2 and 3 there are the most poppy one compared to on the second tape, on the second half of the second tape, where it's more like a slightly darker. It's still major key, but still darker, kind of fading out vibe. I don't know. I hear it. That's how I kind of structured them, and I try to do the same not formula, but it's the same approach that I usually also do. But just in this case, the differences aren't as big as in some other albums, I guess.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So one of the so speaking of albums that are like sequenced like that, I tend to do what you're saying like resonates with me because you're basically describing also like OK Computer, which I think is
Yeah.
one of the for Radiohead, which is one of the best sequenced album ever. And I try to sequence my albums in that way too, but there's one thing that I always come up on, and that is Bandcamp. Because, you know, the first track that plays is
Yeah.
per default the first track, and you kind of want it to be, but then you can set another track. So that sometimes influenced me to put like a different track as the first, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, it's I can't change that. I can't put it on track 3 to play that one first. That kind of kills me. I hate
Yeah,
that
yeah,
they
yeah.
give me that option and that headache. But I very much understand that that situation.
No. So now we go for side B, which
Yeah.
is side 2 of all in all 4 sides of the album Unrund by Jogging House, which you can get directly via Side Records, which is Jogging House's label. Here's the link down below, and we're starting to listen to side 2.
There's a question, Johnny Dodgem. Do you master for cassette tape in particular? No, actually, and that goes also for the music that Stefan releases on my label. We just master for the master, I guess. So the tape version is the same as the digital version because the, let's say, modern way of tape duplication is actually really good, and you do not need to watch anything. Sometimes if you have like crazy volume spikes or bass spikes, you might generally want to look at your mix again, but it just helps to tell the tape duplication people to, hey, watch out, and whatever minute 3 there's something way louder than before, so they just level it right. But aside from that, it's whole dynamics, noise stuff. It's, I think, you don't really have to take care about it or think about it too much. Maybe it's different if you do your own tape duplication with like an old AB cassette tape. But I wouldn't worry about it. Cassettes are pretty tough. Vinyl is actually harder to master for, or more to think about than cassettes.
Did you run into many problems producing vinyl in the past?
Actually, no. When we personally, I like when I release something, or also on my label, I like that all versions are the same. The medium itself, like vinyl, cassette, or digital, will imprint a bit of their own sound onto the release, so they will sound different just by whatever medium they live on. But if I know it's a vinyl release, I tell the mastering person to just make a nice vinyl mastering, and then this will be the master for everything. And also, again, I think it might be different if we did like hard techno or something like that, where you have like even more bass or need a lot of punchy sounds like kick drums and stuff like that. The roots might be different, but for this kind of slow music that generally isn't super heavy on particular like transients and stuff like that, most of the time the vinyl people, they won't have a problem with what we are sending them. On some other thing releases that weren't on my own label, I sometimes notice that mastering engineers tend to be like overly cautious when they hear the word vinyl, and sometimes it's a vinyl version comes out very tame even before some cutting person told them to, hey, this track might be problematic or something. And I decided to just give it a try usually, and never had any problems.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I have had lots of problems with my past,
Sorry.
with an upcoming release that was supposed to be out like 3 months, like in March. So, but there the test pressing came and it was just it had lots of surface noise,
Oh.
and it was quiet. But that's because it was a very dynamic record. There were parts that were just basically feedback thirds filter banks into a pitch shifter. Then there were parts that were like saxophone and piano and test equipment. So there was a lot of variance going on. The master itself was fantastic, but the test pressing was just very mediocre. So, but we basically we send it back, and I've got an echo now.
Oh, I'm sorry. There was someone who asked if I could turn off the noise reduction. I didn't have any on, but I did some echo setting. Is it strange?
Bab. I'm hearing myself now echo. Friday, did you turn on the monitors perchance?
No, I don't even have monitors.
Okay. Oh well, then I'll try to speak. Oh my god, this is freaky.
Better now?
Okay. Yes, now it's gone.
Okay, sorry, that was me. I don't know how that could affect you, but that was me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Boris sounds so much better now. Okay.
Good. Sorry, I didn't. Why didn't you tell me? 36 minutes in.
I thought it was your connection crapping out. So,
no, it's
because
just some of the streaming, some setting in that streaming platform that we're using here.
Okay. Weird. Yeah. So, because I know like this packet loss kind of thing. So it sounded like that. It's like a Zoom conversation basically. But no, it's good.
Okay.
I could still understand you. So, yeah. And what were we talking about? Surface noise and stuff like that. So, but we then went with that feedback, and they did a good job making a better master after being chastised.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
but we released a couple of LPs together on Sile, and we never had problems.
No, never had problems.
Sometimes dynamics. So you always do as with my own music. Sile's mastering does your things, and he's an old vinyl head, so he just I think that's his go-to medium. So
okay, perfect.
We're usually golden in that regard.
Yeah, and you also get like very calm records from me.
Of course.
Usually my most calmest record. That's the home for the very calm side. So there's usually not so many like literally talking like the difference between like a boom and a so in terms of, and you can't make the wee track louder because that would pierce your ears because it's really just tiny floating in the thing, and then so yeah, it'll be interesting and cool. So we're still on side B from Jogging House's latest album Unrund, and if you want to grab a copy of this on double cassette, it's double cassette only, right? Is that
yes.
the vinyl?
No.
Okay, good. On double cassette, then you can go right here. And if you have any questions, you can drop them in the chat and we'll do our best to answer them. This is cyrecords@bandcamp.com. And you can also find my records there. So if you are there, grab a tape, grab a vinyl, and get and save on shipping.
Indeed.
Many people
recommend it?
Do many people buy like packs?
Yeah.
So buy like 5 to 3 or something like that.
Often, I mean, on a release day, I know many of the names already. They like are returning customers, so they just buy the new thing. They have the old stuff. But usually after the first wave is gone, then it's more often than not some combination, 2, 3, that's something. Vinyl and cassette isn't bought too often at the same time. Usually it's either a couple of LPs or a couple of tapes, but yeah, usually people go for at least 2 or 3, I guess. They tend to wait a bit. Yeah. It's also, much cheaper. So shipping wise, I mean.
Of course. And one question. So we already talked about some of the instruments used on this record.
Yeah.
So you had the chompy on there also? Did I
No,
get that
no.
right? No, just so because we talked, this was modular that you
Yeah.
used to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Do the granular stuff. What else was new modular?
So I mean, I have the squid sampler. I have two of them, which is where the kalimba sounds live on, and then actually your and Analog's module Collide 4 is kind of like the heart of the album. I would say there are three main modules. It's the squid sample for looping samples. Then it's your module to basically add all the movement and kind of breathing of the sounds. We can talk about this a bit more. And then after that, there at least in parts use the resonant EQ a lot, which kind of just help to. So usually the Collide 4 has a couple of, as you know, as you might know, it has a couple of outputs, and usually at least one or two I send to the resonant EQ to kind of just almost use it like a regular equalizer, not in that overly resonant way, but just to basically enhance frequencies, often enhance the noisier parts, and just made things sound more open, to then let the other outputs of the Collide 4 that didn't went through the resonant EQ, and then so they have like free space to run through. And then I did all kinds of feedback patching, and so
You're
I
describing
used it as an amp.
You're describing a lot of modules that can potentially sound extremely harsh, yet you are using them in the most softest way possible.
Yeah, that's true. I sometimes think about it. With Collide 4 you can easily annihilate like any sound and just turn it into like a distorted mess. But I don't know. It's not what I gravitated to, I guess. It's if you have like a single sound that you send through it and then you can go crazy, that's cool. But if you send like almost your entire mix, not the whole mix, because then it would be too mono, but like I say 70 to 80% of all the sounds went through the Collide 4 on that track, like live. And then I used all kinds of modulations, and some did the different outputs in different ways, sometimes putting them back into the machine so I could like by hand control the feedback levels and stuff like that. And if you do that, at least for how I make music, I don't want the sounds to be that extreme, but I want to have like all the movement that I can squeeze out of that module. So with like modulating the filter position, the filter width, and the other TC filter, then you have the internal LFO that kind of makes everything pump. But if you do it very slowly, it's not a pumping, but more like a very slow and heavy breath that it kind of adds, which is great for samples, because the squid sample, my sampler, the recording time is 11 seconds per sound. So in like how I see it, it's plenty, but still like in modern levels, not a very long time, and you would expect for these long meandering tracks that why not create a sample that is 2 minutes or something, so it's easier. But I make these long tracks out of usually very short samples, a couple of seconds, and they are just looping. But I try to add all kinds of movement later on, so they feel more alive than they actually are, I guess. Something like the Collide 4 is really great for me because it can add so much, kind of all kinds of subtle movements at the same time. All of them are, at least in my system, new or semi-new. I didn't have things that sounded like individual parts before, so they created like a whole new way of layering these samples for me.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Oh, it's beautiful to hear. The result is, I'm trying to listen to, and I hear some of the filter width sometimes, I believe, but you made it totally your own, which is wonderful. I've got
Thank
one little thing. Maybe if you go too much off axis from your microphone, your words
you.
gets garbled. So if you
Okay,
stay
I'm
like,
sorry. I tend
yeah, it
to.
tends yeah, because I think I'm living like to your left side right now on
Yeah,
the screen or something. You're looking there and then you're off axis and then it gets a little bit garbled. Maybe
I
it's
am
that's it.
sorry. I don't mean to garble. I
No,
I moved your window a bit, so yeah.
just think that might be it. What causes also that dropout. Cool. So that's a very small modular system, right? Or like,
No,
or
it's
how
not.
that's.
I have that Pittsburgh bigger case now. It's
Ah, okay.
420 HP. I did have those small suitcases for a couple of years, but at some point I felt like it's time to go back to a bigger case. And yeah, and now I make these crazy spaghetti heavy patches that just look like cables, and yeah, and everything is moving, but nothing is moving too extremely.
And are you building up a patch for an album and then you play that patch through the whole album? Or are you building different patches all the time? Or are you building patches for like one thing? How does it work?
It depends on the album. Usually I start from scratch with every track. I record my music piece, and then I just rip it apart, maybe aside from some MIDI like maintenance kind of modules, but usually I take it apart. On this album, I made there's like basically one patch idea, I would say, which is what I just described: full sample, collide 4, resonant EQ, and those three, they stayed in the same positions, I would say, but everything around them changed. Of course, there's always modulation. There's always a couple of other VCOs that accompany the samples, but their roles changed in every part. Only that main root was the same. Modulation also always different. Maybe similar. I don't usually once I record a track, I kind of forget what I did. That's why also I need to record it right away. There are so many cables. If I wait 2 days, I have no idea which cable goes where. It looks like the mess that it is to me too then. So I just need to record it and then start the next one, and then I might repeat something, I might not. I have actually no idea.
Okay. You have no system. Like for me, I tend to build up a patch and then to see if I can make at least like 3 tracks from one patch until
Okay,
it
no,
bores
no,
me.
yeah.
So I try to like just change things, change like pitches, change speeds, and then see what happens and see. I want to like really squeeze like the patch until it's like dead for me.
That's certainly more efficient, I guess. I don't know. I don't. The patching is already the composition, I guess,
Yeah, it is.
in
It
many
is.
ways.
Yeah.
And then I just slowly try to build. And once the patch is done, the track is done too, I guess. Then I just need to record it. I don't. When the patch is done, I usually don't change things too much. I already changed them while I patch things. There are no drastic knob turns after my patch is there. I don't. I know that people do that, especially when they play live and so on. But I rather start a new thing than I don't know. That's how it works.
Okay. And you mentioned playing live. Are you playing live right now? At the moment, are you doing shows at the moment? Or are you planning shows?
I'm planning something. I'm not sure if I can talk about it right now. It's not a huge thing in August, but not many shows. No, have a very stressful half a year or even more behind me, where I wasn't even thinking about leaving the house, basically. So I usually I have a couple of shows. I don't tour or anything, but I usually have a couple of shows per year. But this time, maybe second half of the year. So I only have that one thing coming up. But I'm not even sure if I will bring the modular or maybe something smaller.
Oh, okay. Here's a question regarding to that. Maybe it fits in. it's Stray Wool. Boris, could you talk about playing this particular album live, please? Even if hypothetically.
Yeah, that is hypothetically. I mean, I could play that live. In that case, I would probably just bring the modular system to the venue and then make the patch there. But that would turn into a very slow sound check. Because I guess it's not really transportable, and I even if I recorded all the stems, it would not work because there's so much feedback stuff that you can't really take care of with sampling and stuff. So yeah, it's a very hard album to play live. I could play something that is kind of in the same vibe, I guess, but if I wanted to really bring that concept to the stage, it would be just very cumbersome from a technical point. Otherwise, it would be from the performance, it would be like a very calming. Maybe even I think I might feel weird in a couple of situations because there's not enough to do sometimes, and it's which is fine when I'm in the studio recording, but it's weird when you're on stage and you're just standing there and waiting that swell out to happen. You don't really have anything to do with your hands, so you can just wave or make cool gestures. But
because the patch plays itself, basically.
Exactly, because it's slow music and a complex patch. So sometimes you just have to wait a couple of things out before you change them. Otherwise, when you do something, the thing that you're waiting for never happens, because it's just some sounds take 20 seconds to just appear and disappear again, and you have to wait it out kind of once it's set up, once it's in motion. So in a live situation, it could feel a bit weird. I don't know. I tend to play tracks that are a bit more rhythmic live. It's probably a bit more favorable for the stage because I constantly have something to do and keep timing and check and press things at the right moment, stuff like that.
And that was the thing that I found so fascinating when I first saw you playing live. I think it was at my wife's venue, König Otto, here in Berlin. And you were actually stopping between tracks, because usually these ambient live shows are one continuous experience. But you played your piece and then you stop, and people are like, oh, stop, okay. And then I played the next track. I was like, how else could I do it? I need to change all the settings.
Yeah, that's true. I have to say, in recent, in the last 2 years, I think I stopped doing that. I actually, I very much wind down between them, but I don't go to full zero anymore. Even though I very much enjoyed that, but I kind of power through now, and there's always a bit of sound meandering between pieces now.
Okay. So you changed that concept. I found it interesting. So for one or two pieces, it's lovely. It's very it was very endearing. It was different than to things that were normally done.
Again, more like a normal concert, I guess, and less than a set. I liked if I like to get a bit of applause between tracks to get a
get a boost. That's good. That's good.
Just to feel if it's even working, if it's resonating.
Okay.
Sometimes with this calm music, you play and people are completely silent. They just sit there or stand there and stare at you, and you don't, for depending on how long the show is, let's say 80 minutes or something, you have no idea if they enjoy it or not. There's no, if it's dark, you can't even look them really. You see that there are some heads in the dark, but you don't really see the facial expression or something, so you don't know what's up. So I appreciate if someone shows me some kind of emotion. I usually don't get booed, but even then, I would know that I'm on the wrong track. I would like to. I like to get a bit of feedback. And the more silent you go, I think people have the urge to fill that silence with maybe claps or whatever.
Could be interesting. So, but I think if they are quiet, that's already amazing, because then they're listening. The worst thing is when you're playing a quiet show and people are like blah 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 blah. It's like that's one of the hardest things. We have to play
Yeah,
that kind of show,
that,
like a festival stage or something like that. This is a you're trying to be quiet and then people are loud. That's difficult.
that's true. Yeah, that's why I usually don't. When I get asked to open for acts that's usually something that happens locally, where maybe there's like something that's more like house music, or I don't know what the like electronic music with drums that you theoretically could dance to, even if it's not like the fastest or hardest or whatever. And then sometimes I get asked if I could open for someone like that, which is I usually always decline, because that is exactly what will happen, that people will just talk through my set, because it's, yeah, for them, then they are expecting a different experience out of that evening, and then my music is too calm and gentle for that experience, so it will be, most likely will be talked over, and then I spare myself that experience.
Yeah. I mean, you can go really loud with this music. That's what I do. So
Yeah.
when it's like in situations like that, so I'm gonna turn this. Oh, this is coming up. So I like to when I played at Berghain during a super booth. Basically, I was still playing the same stuff that I do, but I added a bit of low end using Collides and the Rode and Schwarz UBM, and I made sure that everything was as loud as possible without being in any form like piercing to the ear.
Yeah.
And that really worked well. It was amazing. It was wonderful. People were like in between on the dance floor. You have this function one like around you, so that was cool. And the coolest thing was I could see like the decibel meter that they have for the DJs. So the sound guy turned it in, so I could see like, oh, I'm now at this decibel, and then the loudest moment, that basically that the maximum that's allowed, I could plan that to be the second to last track. That was
Nice.
amazing for me. It was really good. Okay, yeah, did. So, and I did like, if I show you my EQ curve that I did for that concert, it's pretty wild. There's lots of dips and things, but that enabled me to play really loud with people could still talk to each other if they wanted to, but mostly it was different in that regard. So that was a way to like conquer that kind of like crowded place and do it with soft and calm music. But it was also especially one, so people went there for like a calm thing. Even dancing came later. So there are ways you can do it, but it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes when it's a bit more a brighter venue, when I can see people and they start to sit down and just dream away, that's usually that's my thing. That's
okay. Listening shows seated or with beanbags and stuff like that. There's
bring
another
your own
hypothetical.
beanbag. Yeah.
So look, he's got like his own icon here. Perfect. If we're talking hypotheticals, I could hear this album being reinterpreted with acoustic instruments, similar to the way Taylor Dupree's Steel was done recently.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a person that can play actual instruments and hear what kind of notes these are, go for it, I'd say. I have no idea in terms of musical how one would even do that. But yeah, I could be cool for sure.
Yeah, it's more. I mean, there's not like you don't use a lot of like notes. Basically, you don't go through wild modulations in chorus, but you go through more textural transformations all the time. So someone would have to play a lot of textural transformations, which can actually be very hard to pull off on acoustic instruments. But something like a saxophone in here, I could imagine, like in that track that we heard, like a mute with mutes and stuff like that. Brass with mutes would work well. Cello, you could definitely arrange it for chamber or for a trio, I think.
Saxophone. I mean, saxophone is probably my favorite instrument. That I would enjoy a lot, I guess. Maybe like if I mean the only like it would be required that they at some point do the Careless Whispers saxophone thing,
okay.
and then go back to the ambient stuff. That I would like that a lot.
Yeah, you have to get in touch with a fantastic saxophonist who also has like a feeling for electronic music and does it himself. Simon Spies.
Ah,
So you probably talked with him, but
yeah.
he would be like someone who could play these or like play these pieces or duet them. I think that could work well. So flip, this goes out. Eject. That's the first tape done. Flips out like this.
Buy
It's
tape.
it's my favorite move, like how it flips out. It's like it's such an ingenious, fun thing to do. Because this is actually like a field recorder. So this seems like a pretty awkward way, like in the field when you're field recording your movie, because this was used for indie movie shooting because it has XLR inputs. So this replaced the Nagra in many points. But then to have your cassette ejected like this, like, oh no, where is it falling? So it seems a bit like a fun way, or like a bit like a dangerous way, because it's like sorry, I do this every live stream and I keep doing this. I'm sorry, this is like it's a source
It's
of
a
joy
highlight.
for me. So for those of you just joining, I'm sitting here with Jogging House, who put out an album called Unrund. I did my best to roll the R's. Unrund, it's here. It's
You look like
available
a-
as double cassette and digital. Oh, and I haven't shown that. If you buy the cassette, you get, of course, a code to that.
No,
So-
only you got that. Because
Ah,
if people buy the cassette, they get the
Then they have it
digital-
already
yeah,
on
yeah.
Bandcamp because it's available on Bandcamp.
Yes.
But if you bought it for you at one of those hypothetical shows,
Then
then
yes.
you would get a download
course.
code. Okay, so I need to hide this.
Bye, Mathieu.
So, cool. So now we've got side C. And that's also time for me to open another alcohol-free beer. Because it's very hot in here, actually. All this, I noticed that
Same.
because all this... so if I have my mixer on, that gets warm. And there's like vacuum tube compressors and preamps and EQs that are running down here. It gets warm. And then was a warm day in Berlin anyway. But if I had the other stuff all on, like, this gets easily to like 27 degrees in here, which is for wearing a sweater, as nice as it is, gets a bit toasty. So, listening to side C.
I usually leave a tiny gap to create
Yeah.
an awkward silence, but also to make sure it doesn't get cut off in the process of manufacturing.
Yeah, very good. Perfect.
Yeah, kalimba again.
So, how many kalimbas do you have?
I have two. I have the normal one and the bass kalimba, but to be honest, I only use the normal one. And the bass is too turns out it's too
Bass is too
bassy.
bass. Yeah.
But yeah, I really like just pitching the normal one in all kinds of directions, basically. And when I record it, I seldomly record like a very complex playing. Usually it's just 1, 2, 3 notes or something, and then I rather layer it with another round of 2 notes or something like that. So very, very simple phrases actually, but together they work wonderfully.
You have to get one of these at some point. That's the
I
new
saw
one.
that. The
Magic box. Yeah. It's wonderful. Like I'm working on. This is my travel companion. So I toured to a bunch of places, and this was always with me. I played it also on stage because you can. This is like perfect for the electroacoustic stuff, like the little. You can.
ASMR.
Yeah, some R kind of things, or like doing scratches, or like singing into it, even using it as a microphone. But I remember the time that I really fell in love with it. It was, I landed in Stansted, and then I was waiting for the bus, and it was sunny. It was, I think, in April of this year. And it was sunny in England. It was a very nice 20 degrees. I was sitting in a t-shirt in the sun, waiting for the bus, and then I took this out, and it was just... It's not in key to the song, so it doesn't make sense to play it.
Is it a normal? I don't even know what the English word is, but
Spieluhr.
Spieluhr.
I don't know what the English is. So like these. No, these are from these Mattel record players, like a very old
Okay.
vintage one. And so yeah, this is very. So basically, you need 2 of those players to make these. It's a very beautifully built product, and he's only gonna make a few of them because you can't get these players basically anymore. And it's made in the Seat Lombard style, like with the wood. It feels beautiful to hold in your hands. One of my favorite instruments right now. But it's incredibly hard to play. Like, it's really, really hard to play. So, because how can you play an individual note here?
True.
It's so difficult. So, but when you get a feel for it, and you have to really press you put a lot of force in here, and make really minimal movements. And then you get beautiful. But then again, too much. It's like...
Yeah. But I can see it, yeah. Yeah, it's something
It's
I would
absolute control.
I would immediately pitch that down at least 2 octaves, I guess.
Yeah, wonderful. It's wonderful to pitch this down.
Yeah, Darren, if you're watching...
Nah, he wanted to catch the stream. He might have caught it. So, but this is like a wonderful instrument. So, he's making really, really only a few of them, I think. So, but it's such a good companion because it seems very simple, and then it's very complex. But playing it is meditative. So it has that kalimba vibe, but it's also crazy. So every time you give it to someone, they're first like, oh, ring, ring, and then, oh, how play? But you have to learn it, and then it's still chaotic. So it's always surprising. And I'm playing it right now. My favorite way right now to play is through this research preamp, where it's absolutely distorting in a beautiful way, and then the wire recorder, so you get like this really broken Glockenspiel vibe that's beautiful.
Nice.
There's a lot you can do with that, but yeah. So speaking of kalimbas, this is a thing, like, it's endless. It's so many that are beautiful and feel different and sound different, and you can do a lot with them.
Yeah, I always I lust over the other kalimba versions. I don't know how, like, the bass one obviously is bassy, but the other non-bass one, I don't really know how if it's just different notes or if the sound is actually like
all
different enough.
Yeah. All different, especially like if you've got one. I think I've one that now still I think might be with Darren. It's like with the long middle note. And that's very cool because it's got one bass note, but the rest are higher. That makes for a beautiful, different sonic impact. Different rattlers, they rattle different if they're longer. Like even that, like if the rattle distance or if they're thinner, it again creates a different instrument. And it's all different textures and can do different things with them. I mean, it's all this, at the end, it's kalimba, but they have a different soul to them, I think, each of them. So
cool. I mean, I was hoping you say no, just one is plenty. You don't need any other. But yeah, that might happen at some point.
We gotta go to some questions. So
yes.
We have got the cassette is 50 minutes plus. Are there 2?
Yes. Short answer.
Yeah, 2. So very long. What's the over length now? It's 13 times 8.
Yeah. You could
4.
find that out with math. No, 8 times 13. Yeah, it's 80 minutes and 30, so 92 minutes. Does that make sense? No.
Yeah. No. Okay. Honestly, it's like hard to do maths on stream. So it's like I don't know my name. I don't know my name.
112
I don't know
minutes.
my name. Okay, so we get that.
112 minutes.
And then. Oh, wrong one.
The Lyra 8.
Yeah. Do you continue to play the Lyra 8? I think you used it on Flaws.
I did use it on Flaws, but I sold it a while ago. At some point, I just felt like I did enough with that sound, and because the Lyra 8 is very wild and depending on how you set it up, but I don't, as you can hear, often don't need my instruments to be that wild. So the range that is usable in my kind of sonic world in the Lyra 8 is kind of limited, I guess. and I felt like I made the patches that I needed to make with it, and then passed it on. I do really like that pink, the look of the pink version. I would like to have more instruments in that color, but sonically, I doubt that I will use it again.
It's hard to make fit with things. It's good for solos, I find.
Yeah.
Like you can make a good solo with it, but it fights for its space. Like I'm here, I'm Lyra 8, I want to be on my own.
That's
kind of
true. I send it to
like,
through all kinds of bandpass filters to keep it in check. So I as you know, I love the deer horn, Fiat Lombardo deer horn. That's one of my favorite, if not my absolute favorite instrument. And the Lyra 8 is not completely different in how you play it. I mean, you touch it, and the deer horn, you just hover over it with so it's that theremin kind of thing, if you don't know what we're talking about. But and on that album Flaws that Johnny mentioned, I played both in tandem because it's kind of the same playing style, and I just tuned them to different notes. So I had like not just the 6 notes of the deer horn, but another 8 that go with them. But yeah, that trick kind of was then done. But also, as Mickey is writing, I also have an Elmira 2, which I think is fantastic, and has I mean, it's digital, it's not analog. It's kind of a sibling in the concept, but the sound that comes out of it is quite different to the Lyra, I would say. But it has many really cool features that allows you to make the sound more your own, and even though it's also a harsh and noisy instrument at its core, I can more easily like push it into my world, I guess.
Okay, I've never heard of that instrument. Okay.
Oh, you probably have seen it. It looks a bit like half a Lyra 8. It also has these, it's like this size. It's kind of like a bigger module.
Okay.
And yeah, it's from Leipzig. So
oh, okay, interesting.
It's actually recommendation.
Cool.
It's really cool little instrument, cool little noise box, but you can also just play it melodically, so it's not restricted to that kind of sound, which I think is really cool. And yes, it was all over Whisper Cliffs, which is an album that the Lifted Index and I made together. That's how he knows.
Okay. Did you, like, what I'm hearing is that you oftentimes have like an instrument concept for a record.
Yeah.
Is that true? So you take like an arrangement of instruments and say, I'm gonna make the record with this.
Exactly. I always do that, actually. Yeah. I need some kind of restriction, I guess. If I have like everything that I have more than a bedroom setup. I don't have the biggest setup in the world, but I have more instruments that I need. So if I have them all on my table and all hooked up, and then I feel like the need to use all of them in each piece, and that usually doesn't like tend to the best results. So I take things out, and I usually think about balance mostly, like what couple of things can I throw together so I don't want 3 things that do kind of the same thing and then record those, but rather, like in like simple terms, have something analog, have something digital, have something that loops, for example, just to get the idea. And like with my modular system, usually I just use the modular system because that already includes all of these parts in itself. But when I make music with more other devices like the Digitakt, for example, I usually pair it with something analog that I can record with it. Or like on my last heavy Digitakt album, my friend Colövre sent me tape loops, which were also made from analog sources, but also were very tape loopy. So you get a lot of warble and stuff like that to kind of work against the digitalness of a sampler. So these kind of balances, and then I decide on a setup. I usually leave at least 1 or 2 things out that I think would be useful, just to kind of force me into thinking differently. So for again talking about this album now that we're hearing, Unrund, where I used the squid sample, which only has these very short sample times. So things like that, it would be easy to hook up some kind of looper that can loop very long samples, and it's easier to get these meandering things out of it, but it would sound different. And so I try to make slow, long music with something that actually is made for drum samples, drum hits, and stuff like that. And so this kind of limitation I find interesting to miss a couple of things that on paper would seem perfect for what I want to do, but kind of force myself to think around that problem, if you will, even if it's a self-made arbitrary problem. But yeah,
you're going for a challenge. You're challenging yourself.
Yeah, it's a video gamey approach.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Challenge accepted. So we're still listening to Unrund, available on Side Records. We're on the mid of side C. So are we halfway through? No. Yeah, we're halfway through, right?
Should
we're
be.
Halfway through.
Yeah, 3 more tracks to go.
Okay.
Can you make it?
Will the batteries last? So, okay. So let me take this ticket down again. So, not forgetting. Cool. Oh, thank you for the comment on the sweater. Hi, bye. Yes, my gift for my wife. So, like, all the best sweaters are a gift from my wife. So, and if you have recorded with that setup, then is it burned for you? Is it like, okay, I did that, now I'm done, now I can sell it or get rid of it? And
I mean, in the modular system, that would be a very expensive approach, I guess. No, sometimes there's an element of a setup that is then burned for me. I won't name names because some of the companies I really like or something, but sometimes if something has like a limited palette of sound, or at least limited to me, I feel like, okay, I did that now and I don't want the next album to sound like that. But in general, I come back to setups or parts of those setups because I kind of miss them. But it's more like, now I made a calm, meandering album. Most likely the next one I want something that is more rhythmic, more melodic in parts. Basically something where I move my hands faster while making it. And then after that, maybe I want to do something more droney again, but maybe with a different setup. And then after 2 or 3 or 4 albums, I feel like, oh man, that Deerhorn album was actually the funnest to make. So let's make another Deerhorn album, but maybe pair it with one thing that I haven't paired it with, just out of what I have. And I mean, I don't buy too many gear anymore. Actually, it's been a while. I don't even know. So it gets, if you constantly have something new, that is easier to pull off, I guess. But I still find ways to just keep it interesting for myself. It's just so I don't get bored, and also I'm a bit methodic. Is it methodic? Yeah,
methodic
in my approach. So if I feel like, okay, with these things, this is a good way to make music with these things that I have in front of me. So I need to fall into that trap of doing it too often and just take out that option from time to time, if that makes sense.
And are there things that stay? It can be like an effect, like a pedal, or like a plug-in or anything. It's just something that stays through.
I mean, the tape at the end stays. It's either my Ravox, or if that I record to cassette if the Ravox is in repair. But it isn't. It's been good for a while. I'm I'm happy. And my main effects, the Auto, BIM, and BAM, and since a while the Walrus Maracai, the dual stereo bucket brigade delay. Those are the ones that are always there. I mean, especially the BIM and the BAM. They've been on, I guess, almost all of my releases since 7 or so years. They are just my room, basically. Not as we talked about before, like not a too defined room
your
or space, but they are exactly.
Your cosmos.
So they are my sounds kind of live in there. in their constructs of space and time, I guess. And so these days, my mixer, I swapped out my mixer a couple of months ago, but before that,
what do you have now?
I have
because I followed your journey.
yeah, yeah.
So
Mixer.
can we please start? Like, what was the mixer that you have first had?
I mean, my very first mixer, I don't even know, probably some Mackie piece of shit mixer. Or probably, no, actually a DJ, like a vinyl mixer, something like that. And then I had a Allen Heath mix wizard. I think the 1442, which is a really nice.
Yeah, that's the one that I had too. 1442.
Yeah,
I had that same, like the blue one. Mix
exactly.
Wizard.
Yeah,
I had a Mix Wizard Mark 1 and I loved it. Sounded really clean, really good.
Yeah,
really punchy. It sounded very punchy and clean.
Yeah,
that's what I remember.
And I really liked the root. It had great routing for the size.
6 aux. 6
exactly.
aux.
And then
a feedback matrix.
Yeah, it's a good. I highly get a Wix wizard, a mix wizard. If you are looking for a not too expensive mixer in a not too big size that has all the options. Yeah, and I like the mix wizard so much that I upgraded to a Allen Heath DL2800. Yeah, it's a meter long. It's the smallest one actually that I had, but it's still 34 channels and 10 sends and 8 groups. And I'm all about the sends and the groups. I have no need for 24 channels. I don't know what people put on 24 channels. 12 to 16 is fine. I mean, if you have everything connected, sure. But the way I work with the setups, I don't need that many channels, but I like to do a lot of routing. Everything goes back and forth. Everything is listening to everything else. It's almost like a matrix approach, basically. I really like that, to not have to constantly rewire all my effect pedals or reverb and stuff like that. So this is all there and ready, and I just plug in the instruments and I can then route everything where I want it. So I want a lot of flexibility with routing, but I was kind of tired of the big mixer, especially we moved, and my studio is smaller now. I have less other things that are office boring in my studio, so it's more like a music room, but it has a little less square meters. So I wanted a smaller mixer again. I thought about getting a mix wizard again, but I found an APB Dynasonics H1016. So it's a very, very easy to remember name. But it's again a rack mixer, but it's a monitor mixer. It's discontinued. I think it's in the 0 years or something like that. And it has 8 stereo groups and another 2 sends in and 16 channels in a rack size, which with very pristine channel strips actually. So analog high pass filter, not just a high pass click which cuts off at 100 hertz, but a real filter that goes to 400 hertz.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really good.
Oh, that's really cool.
Too, yeah, and with preamps, it's a really good mixer. And yeah, it's a bit strange because it's a monitor mixer, so you don't really have a master out, and it's also just knobs, no faders, aside from the groups. But yeah, for how I use a mixer, which is kind of like a routing station, it's perfect. And but I only got it a couple of months ago during the move, so there were several months where I just looked at it completely unconnected to anything in the room, and just now I started really using it. I didn't even make too many tracks with it. Just I made a sound pack recently, which is the first thing where like a lot of sound just went through the mixer, so it's also checking if it's even working.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's the problem with buying used mixers. They are like, especially for something that was touring.
Yeah.
No.
But so far so good. I got and these are can be very expensive, but I was a bit lucky with the price, I guess. So yeah.
I see them like they're at Schneider's. They're pretty pricey mixers for what they look, but they're also very colorful mixers.
Yeah,
because they're meant.
Model. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're also meant to work like in the in a monitor situation where you don't have like where you're sitting by the band basically, and like you don't have like your own light basically. So the
Yeah,
mixer has to provide light. Very interesting that you ended up in that. So
yeah.
you think you'll this will be like your last mixer? Or are you still thinking about like maybe a different one at some point, or is it something
Uh,
you would really like?
I mean, there are these super high-end mixers that, of course, I would like from whatever British company that I forget how they are called, but like something in the five-digit realm, which I will never be able
Yeah,
to
yeah.
afford. Something like that, sure. But even then, they probably would not have as much routing options. And at the end of the day, I think I take the routing over some kind. I don't need compressor. I don't need compression anyways. So I don't need like compressors on my channel strips or whatever bells and
Yeah.
whistles these mixers have. So yeah, it could be my last one, at least until I find something in the same size that has even more options. But this one is quite cramped already. So
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah. I
think at
can't
some
imagine
point,
how you in analog. I can't imagine how you can make more than that.
yeah. So it's it's
So
it's dense. I think
yeah,
that's as far as they can take it. But yeah,
yeah. I went
mixers
to a
are
big
great.
mixer in the end because from the Mix Wizard I wanted something bigger, and went with the Ramza mixer, which was
Yeah.
black and big, and but also it didn't sound actually as good as the. It sounded different. It sounded darker. It had a bit mojo, kind of on the low end more, but it was also dustier. It wasn't as punchy. It wasn't as quick. So and then I got this broadcast mixer, which is the biggest expense I ever had, I think, for any piece of gear,
Okay.
and but it was worth it. So because it really sounds good, but like the mixer, I think changes how you make your music, especially electronic music, because since this mixer is so quiet, I tend to listen to very small things with it much more. And I have way more mics on this now, and it's just very, very
Cool.
about like the tiny things now, which was impossible with something like a rock or dub board like the Ramza, because the noise floor on that
Yeah, I get it.
was. So how do you like? Are you interested in extremely, extremely quiet sounds?
Yeah, a bit. I
Also,
mean, on that album, there's actually on every track is a bit of paper crumbling in microphones and stuff like that. And
aha.
I also like on all of these. So I recorded the paper through that microphone that I'm speaking on right now into the Collide 4 and then send it in the feedback patch, which it doesn't sound very crazy if you think about just a piece of paper, but in something that has like 4 or 5 feedback loops within the system and something that crackles and has like a bit of top noise can get out of hand quickly. So I really enjoyed that even within those calm tracks to have that kind of for me dangerous moment of squishing that paper and see what will happen in the like a minute later when it gets repeated into from somewhere to somewhere else. But yeah, I really like boosting like the calm, quiet sounds. Usually, I don't go into full like field recording music or ASMR music. It's for me, it's usually just some kind of atmospheric tool where I then layer more synth or whatever electronic music sounds on top. But that's something I really enjoy and also want to do more even in the future. I have a lot of fun sending tiny sounds through my modular system, which is something I didn't intend to when I originally started buying modules, but also when I started planning that system a couple of years ago, it was almost purely a synth and sample thing to sample the synth sounds, I mean, and play them on top. So this is kind of something that snuck into the whole process over time, and it's I really enjoy it. And because I'm not playing any acoustic instruments or something like that, it's for me it's a whole new world with microphones and stuff like that and
Oh,
mic
it's
placement.
wonderful. It's wonderful. It's so much fun. There's like just the distance, how everything changes and what you can do with that. It's a lot of fun. So I'm happy that you're getting into that because
Yeah,
it also adds a nice, like whenever you have something that moved some air, it adds a nice breath, a nice
yeah.
space to an electronic recording. Speaking of which, we are now moving over to side D. So I need to stop and flip. Oh, perfect this time. And if you're just joining, we are still listening to Jogging House's new record called Unrund. So, which is out now on Psy Records. And you can get it as a double cassette and digital download.
Yes.
I'll put the link right here. So that's where you can get it. And the man himself is going to mail it out to you if you click there and get it there. Good.
So
Let's see if the awkward pause will still be there.
always,
Decidedly.
always.
Always?
I live in that pause. The Void Inclusive. Do you have any advice for smaller artists who are working without a label? I guess the advice is to work. You don't need a label, to be honest. Even though I run one, it's not necessary to have a label. At least it depends. You can at some point feel like this is the next step. Depending on the label, maybe it won't be, maybe it will be. But for now, I would say just keep releasing stuff, especially. So we are living in this horrible world of algorithms that tell us how and when we should share music with others. But if you want to, gather a bit of listeners, a following, however you want to call it, I think it is still makes sense to kind of please the algorithm gods a bit, which means to try to constantly release things. Could be an album, could be an EP, could be a single, but the consistency is very important. Also, if you then try to sometimes release something on Bandcamp, again, probably not a single, but more like an EP or an album, it helps. It's a good practice, I guess, to do a bit of self-promotion. Then on Bandcamp, you always see these little badges of people who supported it. If you then contact the label and send them your unreleased, not what is on Bandcamp, but your unreleased thing, but you can tell them, hey, I have a Bandcamp page, I put out a couple of things already, and then the label might look and they see, there are people interested or find it worthy of supporting. That makes the decision easier. I guess that I understand that it feels like if the music is great on its own, then it should be enough. And I strongly believe in that. But at the same time, running labels has become very, it's not easy to run a label. And it's nice to know that at least some people already know of the artist that you might consider releasing in the future. And not just, if there's basically no internet history of that person or that group, it's hard to make that decision, because it's easy to sink just a couple of €100 or even more of your money into it and just don't get a return, but you still have all the work. So there's even though that label people usually have a lot of passion for music, there's still a bit of risk involved, and it's nice for them to see that the artist is already doing their part. Also to see that they are maybe doing some social media again is becoming less supportive of music, I guess, just the way the algorithm, what people see and what they follow and stuff. But still, it's nice to see that the artists that I might be interested in releasing can do their part. They are not too shy to talk about their work or something like that. It's just for a small label that it means a lot to have a bit of energy coming from the artist in that part, aside from the music as well. So I would actually treat the music making kind of like a job. I guess, even if it's your hobby. But if your goal is to reach people, if your goal is just to make music and be happy, then just make music and be happy. That's fine. But if you want to reach people, I would say that just try to do something regularly. Don't be shy in releasing stuff. Not everything has to be like better than the last. It just has to be you. And so I would not compare things to each other all the time. I would just make something that you feel like you can be proud of, and then just release it. And also don't be shy to talk about it in in public, even though that is very awkward. But it's something that you can learn and train, and kind of distance yourself from that awkward feeling.
It sounds like you're talking about yourself right now, talking on the camera on this.
I'm
on
always
here.
talking about myself.
Yeah, of course. It's like okay. Yeah, because we talked about talking on camera and stuff before previously, and how hard it is to begin, especially when you're more of an introverted person, and then how easy it gets once you consider the camera is just a way to reach people that are similar to you, like similar things, and you could basically be friends with if you'd grown up with them. So that's like a nice way I think about it. And to add to that, I always think it's good to get together with humans, be it through social media. I mean, we got to know each other through social media. We got to know each other in this whole Instagram ambient scene.
Modular.
That also, Modular forums are great. So I was active in the forums, and through the forums I got invited to play shows in Berlin, and I got to meetups, and I met friends at the meetups. And there's like, when you take the social and you turn it the social media and you take it into real life, beautiful things happened. And when you organize shows, for example, I organized streaming shows, I organized in real life shows with Boris, for example. That's another cool thing. If you are part of the community, you give back to the community gives back to you. Even though most musicians are pretty, I have to say, are pretty selfish. That's a trait of many artists, that are pretty selfish, but not all of them. And many people give back, an audience gives back, and you can create something. It's a lot of hard work. But engaging yourself in communities online, and especially then also offline, creates a feedback loop that will help you make better art, better music. You might get to know someone who can design your artwork. You might play your music to other people who can then give you feedback on it when it becomes better, because it's good criticism is something that's so hard and rare to get. And you can get that from people that you get to know, and then you can take that criticism, put it in your music or not. But human contact, engaging in communities, is something that is really, really helpful if you want to reach more people, which is good, I think, because music wants to be heard, and you want your music to be heard. And it's nice to think about that there are people listening to your music, and that if it's in the air in many places, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I agree. To me, the listening part is like, I like finishing an album, but it's not truly finished until it's shared. I think that completes the cycle, I guess. If other people can listen to it and, I guess, interpret it in, that's a big word, but just feel their way through it, and then hear the sounds that they are hearing that I might not even have spend too much time thinking about, but maybe different things will resonate with different people that are entirely different to the things that we hear while making them. And that's, I think, then it's complete, then it's fulfilled, kind of.
Yeah, when it takes on a life of its own in other people's heads. You were in your home, in your room, making it, and then suddenly it's out there in the world, and people, that's a beautiful thing to see it literally resonate everywhere.
So that's long answer, but that's the tip.
There's no short answer. There's really there's no real shortcut. I mean, you can, if you have money, you can also try boosting, buying listeners, do all the things that people do, but
it doesn't work.
You can try that. I don't know, it doesn't work really. So long term, no.
Yeah, I want to
But
believe that the good music will just work on its own at some point, but you have to be persistent. But
yeah,
I have to believe in that, otherwise
yeah.
I could not do all that stuff.
The problem is now that you are getting in the same situation that everything used to be kind of free. Then you had to pay for usage on the internet, basically. And now everything is like, oh, do you know you can reach more people if you pay us money?
Yeah.
This is like such a racket. And that's everywhere. That's on Spotify. That's on YouTube. That's everywhere. Like it literally popped up in the ideas tab, which is like when you go in YouTube, you go into your creator page in Studio and you see there's always like helpful ideas, like, oh, try making a short. A short helps you. And then there's, oh, did you know when you pay us, you can get 2,000 views, stuff like that. It's like, oh, good idea. Great idea for you.
Yeah, I can see how they came up with it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so frustrating. Where there was like, yes, did you too? So, but yeah, so that's kind of you're getting new gatekeepers, but the gatekeepers are bribable, which is kind of sad. But I mean, that's another thing. Like thinking about it differently, like marketing and stuff like that has always, like in Germany, you have the saying "Klappern gehört zum Handwerk." You know, you have to. I don't know how to translate even, but there is when you do something, you have to talk about it. You have to make noise about it that you're doing it, else nobody will know. I was very shy about that. I never did it. And when I started posting on Instagram, which was very late, I was on Tumblr for some reason before, because I could write
my
things
website
there.
is actually still on Tumblr.
Cool. Yeah, no, and then I when I discovered like Instagram and suddenly like boop, and then I went to YouTube and it was okay, there's people are hearing this is good. I didn't even know. But for me it was just the thought of documenting what I was doing, nothing more. So, and I never that felt like something I could do in terms of promo, like document what I do.
Yeah.
So, no.
YouTube.
But YouTube. Huh. How are you doing there?
Not
much. Not because you did a lot of YouTube and a lot of like long form videos, playing music.
Yeah, I usually, because I record my music, straight to tape. It's like one process. It's rather easy to film because it's the recording is the album version, so I can just let the camera roll. And I did that. There were many albums where I filmed every single video track. I actually did that for Unrund.
Okay.
There are videos for all 8 tracks, but I only edited one yet, and only one is online. But there are videos of the others. But those videos actually, just looking at the numbers, they aren't really worth doing it. It's sad, but it creates a lot of additional work, and it doesn't reach as many people as I would like to. I think it would be easier if I just told people to buy the modules in that case and why they are great. I think that would.
You mean in terms of reaching people?
Yeah,
because YouTube is one thing that still like people go for is like advice.
Yeah, exactly.
Like every time you're looking for advice, that's not like ChatGPT. You look for a tutorial. How do I actually like fix my washing machine? That's where I go. Somebody has fixed my washing machine. I know, and probably so I can. If I do this, I can do that. I can do that too. I can't. I can sometimes, but sometimes I can't. So I have to like say, okay, no, I can't do this. I shouldn't have tried it, but they still can try it. So that's, people always look for advice. So, and like ideas, and that's something that's good. So, but that would definitely work. That's education wise and stuff. That's educational.
I still have the goal to make like a pretty much to that little monologue that I just had, to make kind of more like I don't know if inspirational video is the right word. I probably at least in 50% of the cases would be de-inspirational. But, to just talk a bit about things that I find interesting, basically, which is movies.
The video essay format.
Yeah, a video essay format. And
I mean, you can film it because you do a lot of photography too, right?
Yeah.
Analog photography?
No, digital these days.
It's digital, but okay. but
Yeah.
yeah, it has an analog look because you
Yeah.
were schooled on analog photography also.
I don't school. No,
You
I'm just
you
old.
okay. Okay.
But yeah, no. If I see a bunch of good-looking chickens, I will take a photo of them with the hope of them becoming a album cover. Obviously, as any sane person would.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm more like an introverted, also inside person. I like if I sit in a room, I usually don't get the idea of going outside by myself. I sometimes need a bit of a push. But if I bring a camera with me, I have like a thing to do.
You've
When
gamified it.
yeah, exactly.
Link, take pictures of all these monsters.
Yes, yeah, find out all the
Yeah,
stupid seashells. And
yeah.
yeah, that like taking photos of the sun shining on trees and stuff like that is something I enjoy a lot. And even though I just also enjoy walking through a forest, I sometimes forget that forests and stuff like that exist. So and the camera reminds me of to go outside and take a couple of pictures, and I enjoy the process of taking the picture. It doesn't even have to be like a good picture in the end, but I just enjoy pressing the shutter and hearing the click and looking at the looking at light and finding like things that I could take photos of, even if they're not everything is most of the stuff isn't good, but I like the whole process of it. And yeah, so
Yeah, and it ends up on your album covers.
yeah,
So.
there are most of the things I released in the past years have photos that I took, which is I love that. There might be better or more album, like many of my photos aren't. I don't think you would look at them and immediately think that's an album cover. Some they aren't flashy or anything, but I love that I have that accidentally created that space that allows me to to use my photography for music releases. That I think that's a wonderful byproduct that I did not plan on. It just happened, and I'm really happy about that. That's a huge motivation for me to even release stuff, so I can share my photos too.
Bone, you're creating like a little environment where you've got all these positive feedback loops for what you do.
Yeah.
And then it's like you're reaching like little high scores, basically.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's also like what like streaming numbers can be. When it goes well, you're like, oh, good game. So that's
exactly.
fun.
Yeah.
It's good because that's the little gamification that is kicking in.
Yeah,
and
I like stuff like that. You have to fool yourself a bit.
Yeah, for me it's like I feel a little bit more like, I mean, one thing that I feel strangely reassured is when I walk around with a Nagra, even though it's heavy, but the small one will suffice. But if I have like a dictaphone, like a tape dictaphone, I just feel like, oh, I have this thing, and if I hear something that's interesting, I can just click, record it, and maybe I have something, and that's something that I really enjoy. And to make going outside just a little bit more exciting. Because why go outside when you have all these instruments?
Exactly.
Why?
Like if you really think about it, you don't need to go outside. You have everything there in that room. But but I get it. It's fun to capture moments. The Nagra, I guess, is pretty much the same thing as a photograph.
It's just an audiograph, basically.
Exactly. I like that. I started a while ago. I don't always not do it a lot, but sometimes I just keep my phone, the memo function, like just leave it recording, and I keep it in my hand when I go to the grocery store, and I have hours of me buying bananas and stuff like that. But I really like the things that like whatever people in a grocery store in the background, like they ask if the cereal, if their brand if there's a new shipment of their brand coming in, or whatever. Just the stupid mundane things that people just say, or just the noises they make when looking for things. So I have hours of that stuff, and I don't use it a lot, but I really like that I have recorded it in a way. it's strange, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit like Scanner did in his early works, like literally scanning like radio and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and the communications. So yeah, there's things to be found all around, and so I think we're almost nearing the end of
Yes.
this side. We're almost done through the album.
Yes.
Wonderful. So I think we should do two things. First of all, is there anything you're planning after this album, like next album?
I want to make, like last year, I think also in March, I released an album called Rendezvous, which was like chopped up tape loops and stuff like that, which was one of my favorite albums just to make. I really enjoyed that process, and I'm really craving to do that again. It was mostly a timing issue. I just couldn't get through it. I need a bit of like need to know that I have like a couple of 2-3 weeks where I can just focus on that, and it just didn't happen for all kinds of reasons. So that is something I'm really looking for, and I want to make a couple of sound packs more, I guess. I have one, like an effects pack, not really a sound pack, an effects pack that is almost ready. We're talking Ableton, not programming. And some other sample-based stuff. So because those people seem to like them, and I like that people like them, and that's motivating. It's also a different path, which I like between albums, making some sound design stuff, because it's still in the same world, but also entirely different.
Yeah, it's freeing. You just focus on the sound. You don't have to think about like all the other stuff. I like doing sound design too.
Yeah.
Like it's one of my favorite things to do for my plugins, is like just working on the sound for some time and not having to put it in a form, leave the putting into form for other people.
Yeah.
So just create like ideas for people, little sparks for people to light their fire with. So.
And it's also, as I said before, when I changed the setups for the albums, I try to do that so I don't repeat myself. And having like a sound design project between albums kind of helps me to forget the workflow that I established for the album that I did before that. So I can easier start from a like free place then. So yeah, that I guess these two things are what I mainly want to focus on now, and actually getting that stupid talking head YouTube thing going. I wrote a couple of scripts. I'm not I haven't recorded anything, but
So don't be shy about releasing.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be the best.
The thing is, so we moved, and our bathroom isn't really finished, which means we don't have a mirror in the bathroom, and it's incredibly hard to trim your beard when you don't have a mirror. Yeah, just think about it. Yeah.
So you need a mirror first, so you can trim your beard for the YouTube.
I now, for this occasion, today I kind of pushed myself back into like looking like part of the civilization again. I look more cavemanish until a few hours ago. Okay. So now it would actually be a good opportunity to film a bunch of videos. That's what I'm
perfect.
saying. Yeah.
Good. Cool. And so now, chat, we're nearing the end of the album. We've been listening to Jogging Houses Unrund, which you can get on the Bandcamp. Da-da-dum. Perfect. And so if you have any last questions, please put them now. I think we'll get to like 3 or 4 maybe. So if you have them, post them now. And Boris and me will get to them. Oh, Inner Loop says a nice thing. You music makers make the medicine that the world needs. Thank you for sharing your album and your creation.
Oh, nice. Thanks for the kind words.
And you've got people joining up in your Patreon. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Patreon is such a good thing.
Patreon is great, and especially the Discord of my... That will now sound like a plug, and it kind of is, but it's also the truth. The Discord community of my Patreon is one of the, if not the best place on the internet. I'm not exaggerating. I use it a lot for myself. It's a wonderful community that is that I'm just like in awe of. I'm I'm not the person, not the reason why it's a wonderful community. It just happened. But
No, that's
I,
beautiful.
I I greatly benefit from the kindness there, and it's a place where you can vent and talk about all things, not just music, anything. And it's really nice to have that community there that will listen and help. And it helped me a great deal over the last years, and I think many others too. And that is actually, even though now it's kind of shoehorned into that um, into that conversation now, but I think it's in many ways my biggest achievement. All the things that
Oh,
I did, it's a place that means a lot to a lot of people, and I'm very proud of how it turned out. Amazing, truly. So yeah.
bravo, bravo. That's beautiful to hear. So, question one. The inner loop, when is a piece done?
When all the recording buffers are filled and you don't have any seconds in your samplers left, and then you just have to decide if all the things that you recorded are into the samplers, I mean, or loopers, if they are good enough, and if they are, then you just can record it, and then it's a piece. And if you have unlimited recording time, that doesn't work. So always make sure to have limitations, and then the limitations will tell you when you are done.
Beautiful. What was the mixer you were talking about? Didn't catch the name.
The brand is APB Dynasonics, and the mixer is H1016.
Good. I think there's one question that's directed to me from the inner loop. Is it safe to drink beer and be in the studio? Well, this is an alcohol-free beer, so that's from that point it's safe. And I've got a little thing that you put on the kicker desks, like the soccer desk where you do with the little figures. So, and I got one of these things here, so that's where this stays. So it's above the gear, it's safe. So that's that way the gear is safe. Will you make something? That question is for you. Will you make something you can never make again?
Always. Like, especially like that album, I can make something that kind of is similar, but I can't do that again. I have 0 patch notes. I don't save anything. Basically, I just record a moment and then it's gone. And I'm like, with practice, might be able to recreate some steps, but I can't. I also set up things with feedback, with delay lines and stuff, so they constantly are different by design. So I have no interest in doing something that I can recreate. I mean, sometimes it's nice to be able to record a couple of stems so you can play them live, but I usually forget, and I just record whatever's happening on that day, which is kind of a snapshot of my personality on that day, the mood that I had, and when it's gone, it's gone.
That's great last words for the stream. When it's gone, it's gone. So thank you for being here with me. That was fun. That was a
Yeah,
fun
thanks for having
conversation.
me. Yeah.
And we get to hang out not enough. Like we usually hang out texting and thinking about
Yes.
like the next releases, talking about the releases, talking about cover art and chatting like that. But we don't get to talk much in person. So this was lovely, even
Yeah.
though it was like through cameras.
I
But
enjoyed it a lot,
yes,
Stefan. Thank you.
so I'm gonna flip this out, put it back into its case. That was Unrund by Jogging House, available on Side Records. And it fits beautifully in here. Double cassette. And the link is streaming down there. So I'm gonna unclick that banner now, and I'm gonna do the comment. Good. And then thank you everybody for
Thank you.
joining,
Really.
asking questions, and of course listening to the music. And yeah, see you soon again.
Take care, everyone. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye bye. And stream.